Welcome, friends, to the Gaijin Animation Appreciation Hour with your hosts, Sig Bisley and Colt Mauser. Before we get started, please be sure to like this video and subscribe for more content just like this. Now, let the animation appreciation commence.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, finally. Spring has springed.
Meow, 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 King Friday.
Oh, literally nobody gets that joke.
Yeah, well, too bad. They can go get that joke.
Unless you're like, I don't know, 50. Well, this is our generation.
Yeah.
So anywhere from
Anywhere from
40
like 35 to 50.
ancient. Yeah.
I don't know. I know people a lot younger than me that still watch Mr. Rogers.
At any rate.
We got news. What else we
what
got?
else we got?
We got latest episodes.
We finished DOTA.
We finished DOTA. Well, we finished the episodes of DOTA that are out. It seems, I don't know that it's been officially renewed, but it seems obvious there's going to be more.
Yeah, they definitely.
At least they want to do more.
They definitely did wrap everything up. But we'll get to that later. We got, Giant Robo. That's our review today.
Robo.
If you've never heard of it, it's a classic.
It is a classic.
For a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
And then I guess I'll go over episodes of the week, caught up on everything. But before that, you know what time it is. The news.
It is indeed time for the news. All right, so I'm going to start off with, obviously, the biggest news of the week, anime-related. Everybody's talking about it. So a lot of people don't really remember that Sony and Funimation had bought Crunchyroll last year. And now, what seems strange is all of Funimation's content is rolling into Crunchyroll. So I guess they want to use the name recognition and the infrastructure. It probably makes sense. There's probably more subscribers to Crunchyroll than there are to Funimation.
Funimation sucks it.
Yeah, I used to love Funimation, and then they fell apart. Like
once they ate up all those other companies.
ADV. Yeah, once they didn't have that ADV competition,
and Genion,
especially.
like they ate up Genion. Yeah. I don't know. They were just always kind of...
That was the heyday. Back when you had all, those three companies kind of competing. Central Park Media was out there, too. You really had a heyday of...
Central Park Media was like the first
companies.
one, literally.
Oh, yeah, man. MD Geist.
And then
their logo, man.
And they folded up first, so I should tell you something.
But, I mean, they did Votoms. They did Pat Labor, like...
Well, they were doing manga, like,
stuff.
before any, like, anime even came out.
They were doing
anything.
They had their samurai whatever, because they did samurai movies. They also did, I think they did hentai.
Probably.
And, they've even done live action Japanese porn. I don't know. They were into a lot of different stuff.
Probably not, because that wasn't even legal back then.
Not in their CPM. Well, it was legal, but you had to have a lot of blurriness.
No, you still have to have a lot of blurriness.
Yeah, fair enough.
Regardless. But yeah, they were like pretty much the originals.
Yeah, so I mean, this whole thing kind of spins off of AT&T shedding resources in general, right? Like AT&T,
it's the great merger.
Yeah, I mean, it sold off Warner Media to Discovery Plus and all that group, right?
Yeah, it's weird. Like Discovery owns everything.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Like the head of Discovery is the emperor of that whole company.
That guy is a savage. He is all about entertainment and making money. So.
Listen, man, he's like cleaning out CNN, which is like kind of wild.
Someone needed to because, he
wants them to actually like do news again.
Their reality show approach. By the way, everybody, this is not a political podcast, but just a little inside baseball. If you didn't realize, like the guy who ran CNN was essentially the guy who made Trump famous in the 90s, in the 2000s with frickin' The Apprentice. So
yep,
yeah, it's all one dirty club, and you're not in it. So anyway.
Man, that guy ain't in it anymore either.
Yeah, we won't get into that. So Crunchyroll and Funimation. So Crunchyroll eating up Funimation now from a branding standpoint, I guess. Like I said, the real thing was Sony and Funny buying Crunchyroll. So let's see. It was 1.7 billion? Well, no, 1.17 billion was the cost, which is pretty crazy.
To buy Crunchy?
To buy Crunchy, yeah.
Wow.
It's a lot of money.
I don't know how it's worth that. Like
I don't know, man.
It barely even ever works.
Especially when you're Sony and you already have you already own a streaming platform. It's just weird. It's a little weird. I don't trust Sony as far as I can throw them ever since they moved their headquarters to California. They've kind of fallen apart. They should have just stayed in Japan.
Base Nippon.
So, yeah, I don't know.
I don't like Sony owning that much. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel two ways about this. One, yeah, I think a lot of us are getting a little sick of 8 billion different streaming services because you can't.
The consolidation was inevitable.
There's too many. There needs to be some consolidation. Do you want it all to completely consolidate? Probably not.
Oh, God, no.
That's not helpful.
No, I hope
either.
like High Dive and stuff like that stays independent.
Yeah, I would like High Dive and like Retro Crush to kind of combine forces.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And
so you have like 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you still have places like Netflix, especially, and then even Amazon, and I wouldn't be surprised if, who knows what the hell's going on with Hulu, but Hulu or HBO Max try to get in on this too. Pulling in more anime. Like HBO hasn't really done much of it, which I'm a little surprised by. But
Netflix has no choice because they're like $1 away from bankruptcy.
They need it, but they actually have some good stuff on there. Like, you know what I mean? They've actually tried harder than Hulu, I think. Although Hulu has some decent stuff too, and certainly harder. Amazon's got a lot of weird stuff. They have a lot of the old stuff that you would think would be on Retro Crush.
Literally, that Korean stuff is the only thing keeping Netflix from going bankrupt.
Yeah, because it's a hell of a lot cheaper to buy Korean shows or even fund Korean shows than it is to fund the American stuff that's all a bunch of garbage that no one wants to watch. You could be Amazon right now and be literally shitting your pants because the thing you just spent like $160 million on, and never mind the licensing, just I think like the first season alone.
5 seasons, they have $1 billion invested in 5 seasons.
And it's going to make them no money. Everybody hates it. The woke rings of power is of interest to nobody.
I can't believe the same company that's doing that did Reacher. Doesn't that blow your fucking mind?
Well, because again, it's probably one's made by their studio
but it's weird.
In close relation, one is not.
Like why Amazon would pay all those schmuckos that are like ruining the Lord of the Rings when like at this, but why would you have like social justice?
Reacher is a hell of a lot cheaper, and they probably just farmed it out to a studio that was already competent or a group of people that were already competent.
Yeah, it's just weird.
And then Lord of the Rings, it's too big. It's too big. It's too corporate. So there's a lot of meddling, right? They fire the lore master.
Yeah, usually the best stuff is like that. Like I won't say Reacher was like indie, but it's like way smaller where like
corporate.
It's like Cobra Kai, right? Where they just don't fuck with
corporate meddling has been ruining everything for forever. It's just ruining it in a particular direction right now. But corporate meddling is always fucked over.
It's just weird because Amazon leaned super heavy into like the fucking social justice crap, but then Reacher is like negative social justice.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, it wasn't like it had plenty of diversity. It just like they didn't shove it up your ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
anyway, we're off topic again, but that is that whole kind of push is one of the problems with Sony right now. Is they're getting a little censory, which is one thing that.
Yeah, that's the only thing that would suck.
Which is one thing that clearly anime fans are a little bit got their hackles up over because, we all remember the days of the U.S. What would I say? I wouldn't say right wing, although it was right wing, more like the religious right.
Yeah.
Getting overly censorious and, things being more censored than they should be because people couldn't wrap their minds around the idea that something that's animated doesn't necessarily have to be for children.
Listen, G.I. Joe only shoots robots.
Yeah, never mind all that crap. So, no one hits anything in G.I. Joe.
No
so
guns,
it doesn't matter.
colored lasers, no one hits anything.
But regardless, you had that, right? That censoriousness, and then now it's swung the other way, and now, everything's a horseshoe, right? Now all of a sudden it's censoring again. It's coming from a different group and for a different reason. So, no censoring. Knock it off. We don't want any part of it. We want our anime as pure as possible for those of us that can't read Moon Runes or understand.
I don't care. I'll just steal fan subs again like I used to. Dum, dum, dum.
Well, that's going to be the long and short of it. Fan subs will come back.
And Sony can lick my balls. There's plenty of people still doing it.
Yeah, well, a lot of fan subs now just steal it and maybe modify a couple things, but whatever.
I'm just saying the infrastructure is already there.
The black market will always exist if you cause it to exist.
Exactly.
That's what's going to happen again. So they got to be very careful about that kind of garbage. But anyway, yeah, like I said, I'm of two minds. I'm worried about some of that stuff where the censoriousness and some of this other stuff's going to come in, and you want some competition there. But there are way too many right now, so these two combining isn't the worst thing in the world. But there has to be a decent competitor there. It may just be Netflix. And then you have High Dive for niche.
I think Crunchy, High Dive for the old niche stuff. If they, them and Retro Crush.
I would really love to see some sort of merger there.
And then whatever, Netflix and Amazon or whoever want to pick up. Netflix needs it, so they're always going to go throw money at it.
Well, it's cheaper content. It's so much cheaper to produce. It's just cheaper.
Yeah, it's like it's already done. You don't fuck with it. You just throw money at it. That's the other thing. If it's already done and they buy it, they don't fuck with it, which is nice.
As far as
You
I
don't
can
have to
tell,
worry
yes.
about
Agreed.
I mean, you're not going to go back and like reanimate.
No, I
shit.
just don't. I don't know if because some of the problems we're having now is the translations are problematic, and I don't mean in a.
Oh yeah, I've noticed some weird shit in the translation.
Yeah, there's some stuff where you're like, no, and I don't know very much Japanese at all, but sometimes you're like, no, there's something off here.
They only have 2 pronouns.
Japan has like 5 words. We've had this discussion before.
Oh,
Shin
yeah.
means everything. Don't worry about it. So yeah, this is big. We'll see where it goes. I'll certainly be happy to be relieved of a $6 a month bill, I suppose. Whatever the
It's
heck
true.
Funny was costing me.
I never paid Funny.
Yeah.
I just didn't care.
I mean, I picked it up just because there were a couple things I wanted to watch that were on there. It was just easier to do.
It's true.
So I did it. And I like giving them money when they allow me to give them money. You know what I mean? Like any anime industry in general. Like I would prefer to give them money through legit means rather than have to resort to the high seas, but sometimes they don't let you, so it is
Honestly,
what it is.
if it's something I really like, I'm going to buy the Blu-rays of it anyway.
Yes, digital media is making a big comeback. CDs are making a big comeback because streaming everywhere is a problem because the lineup changes and you can never find what you want.
Yep.
So, yeah, we'll see where this goes. I'm sure we'll hear more about it as this goes along. But yeah, I thought it was worth the discussion. And we veered a bit, but we veered into kind of a lot of these issues are affecting a lot of streaming services, and I'm sure most of you out there watch more than just anime, so you're seeing it across the board.
So annoying.
Why the hell Hulu and frickin' Disney Plus aren't still the same thing? I don't know. I mean,
they brought...
not that I want to give them any money.
No, but they brought all... Like, the whole idea with Hulu and Disney Plus is Disney Plus was going to be Disney shit and Hulu was going to be, like, the more adult stuff.
Yeah,
but then they just brought all the Netflix stuff over to Disney Plus.
But Disney stuff was never going to be able to sustain itself. That was always a stupid thing for them to think.
Yeah, well,
even for $5 a month or $10, no way.
Listen, Disney is, like, on suicide watch. They are the worst fucking poorly run company in the history of companies.
Yeah.
And they keep doing it.
Bob
they won't
Iger really
stop.
screwed them before he basically got ousted. Anyway, we won't talk about Disney because fuck Disney. And as Stone Cold just say, that's all I got to say about that.
That's all I got to say about that. You got to say it fast and enunciate hard.
Yeah, well, I wasn't trying to do an impression. All right, moving on. Despite my bald ass head and my goatee.
It's true. You're halfway there.
Yeah.
You just need them guns, son.
My guns need to be a lot bigger. Well, I would need some enhancement for
You
that.
need some juice, man.
And my knees would have to be non-existent. I'd have to wear
2 knee braces.
2 knee braces because it's the only way. And I'd have to wear jorts. I don't know if I could bring myself to do that. It's not the 90s anymore.
I don't know why everybody was so hot for the jorts, man. It's so uncomfortable.
All right, moving on. So, speaking of things coming to an end, I don't know if that's quite a good segue. Whatever. Run with it. The Gundam Thunderbolt manga is actually entering its final stage, whatever the hell that means.
That is awesome because then they'll finish animating.
I saw... I don't think I saw official news, but I did see a logo that it looked like we might be getting some new anime for it sooner rather than later. I mean, I think they're spending their time right now. They're obviously doing the Witch from Mars or Witch from Mercury, that new alternate universe one, or at least we're assuming it's alternate universe. And then they're also doing, they obviously got to spend money and finish Hathaway because Hathaway is freaking amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully they can squeeze in there. And then they're also working on something seed related I remember reading about.
Boo.
I can't remember because the anniversary had come up and they're working on something seed related. I don't know what it is. Maybe it'll be as good as Stargazer.
Fair
Not a chance.
enough.
We should do Stargazer soon, by the way.
Sure.
All right. Anyway, it's entering its final arc. I don't know, One Piece could be entering its final arc and it'll take 10 years. So I have no idea how long the final arc's going to take.
That seems like it'll be quick, though.
But something like, what the hell was it? Dr. Stone was entering its final arc last year, like over the summer and the fall, and now it's already coming to an end soonish. So sometimes it moves a lot quicker. Anyway, check it out. I believe, Thunderbolt is available over here. Someone, Viz or 7 Seas, I don't remember who, brought it over. So you can get the manga over here. I don't know how close to up to date it is.
Yeah, manga, like, Gundam manga's good, but it's just for the idea. Like, you got to animate it.
Yeah. I always loved Astray Red Frame, the first one. It got a little weird when it got deeper, but
Oh, yeah, I did
the
read that. I remember that.
very early Astray was very good. One of the other Seed things that was actually good. Yeah, Seed had a lot of good things about it. It just had a lot of bad things about it.
It had just a lot of unlikable characters, and it was kind of a mess.
Well, and you couldn't tell them apart anyway, so
It was narratively a mess.
it had issues. All right, so moving on to one of my other favorite topics, which is that manga's kicking the shit out of everything
That's been going on for like years.
because that's what it does.
Oh, as an aside, did you hear like fucking DC is in like such dire straits that they got like kicked out of their office?
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, I mean, I think the eviction was obviously overstated, but I appreciate the hyperbole.
It's not the eviction part of it. It's just that like they're literally closing down offices.
Moving them from their rent-controlled place in New York to California was always stupid.
Yep.
It was always a dumb idea. But, we'll be closer to WB and, Hollywood. Like, Hollywood doesn't give a shit about you,
so
man.
now we can die.
Yeah, not very smart. Not very smart at all. Okay. So we got book scan numbers. So manga is a little over 75% of all adult fiction graphic novel sales for 2021.
Oh, yeah, I believe that 100%.
Which is not surprising. I'm honestly almost surprised it's not higher.
Have you been in a Barnes & Noble lately?
Oh, yeah. Their manga sections are vastly expanding. Good. Because
I just want what's good.
stuff.
I don't care where it comes from.
Yeah, I don't. Agreed 100%. Now, I've always been a fan of American comics, more so because I got some color. Sorry, Japan. I know people like that manga style, but I like a little bit of color. It also helps with the line art because sometimes manga line art gets a little busy. It gets a little hard to tell apart.
Oh, God, the dude who did Hunter x Hunter, like sometimes you just couldn't even tell like what the fuck was going on because he went wild with the shading.
Oh, yeah. And Hunter x Hunter always had that problem where if you ever read like the stuff before it made it into like Tankobon or whatever, volume form,
Yes.
it was messy as hell, and then it got
Yeah.
cleaned up. So,
Well, it's the whole thing where one guy does everything too. I mean, there's like 4 or 5 guys that work on a comic.
how many billions of dollaroos would I have to pay to get like somebody like Kyle Ritter to freaking color a manga for me? God,
I wonder if you
would
even
look so
could,
good.
just because of like you'd have to like digitally remove all the shading that they do. You know what I mean? Which I could do,
yes
but
and
it
no.
would take forever and be annoying.
Colorists do some phenomenal stuff nowadays,
But
especially
also
with digital.
It depends on who the artist is too.
Even if it was just flatted, it would be fine. I'd take flats, and you can get flats like for free. People send stuff off to like Brazil, and they get flats done for like
you know
nothing.
what's tight?
Or the Philippines.
What they do in the first like 20 pages of the Fist of the North Star
Oh yeah,
like collection.
yeah. That's a lot of manga collections have that. Like Gundam Origin has that.
Yeah.
and then interspersed throughout, there's a couple sections of it.
Yeah, no, it looks really good.
yeah.
I mean, it's
like
not
that
really
stuff.
colored per se, but
It's
you know.
watercolor looking. I always love that.
Yeah,
that style.
It just looks nice,
Yeah. Anyway,
and it's better than fucking Black Smudge.
that would be nice. So, yeah, there's manga's crushing everybody. They're up 171% from the previous year, so 21 over 20 at 2020. Which, I mean, 2020 was a pretty heavy year too for obvious reasons. People wanted to just buy manga and read it. Although I think by 2021 they could adjust supply, because I remember for a while there was certain volumes of stuff you just couldn't get. Like
Manga's always been like that. It's just hard to find stuff.
it
Sometimes.
was hard to find sometimes. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. Regular comics are kind of sad. Although graphic novels, for the American comic book industry, graphic novels are always the biggest seller nowadays.
Well, they don't even make a ton of profit on floppies. They just exist, so
Yeah,
you
they
can
don't-
do it collected later. You know.
As Kelly Sue DeConnick would say, like, oh yeah, you don't come out, you're not in the freaking black until you come out with the graphic novel. So
Yep.
you're in the red when the comic's out. That's because the comics are garbage, but that's another problem.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're Batman. You can have 80 million Batman comics and they'll all make a little bit of money.
For what I read, Batman is the only thing DC has that actually sells.
Yeah.
And they do like 20 different Batman comics.
Absolutely.
Which is ridiculous.
All right, moving forward here. So, when I said they were up 171%, ICV2, which is also looking at the book scan numbers, also reports that they more than doubled. So 171% increase is clearly
There's so
more than
much-
doubled.
There's like so much good stuff out.
My Hero Academia crushing it, because of course they're crushing it. Demon Slayer is always crushing it, although now it's over, so We'll see how much that continues. Although old stuff still tends to sell. One Piece will always sell.
Fucking chainsaw,
Because One Piece,
man.
Jujutsu Kaisen obviously is starting to sell now that again, synergy, right? Like the anime comes out, it hits off, and then it drives manga sales again, which will drive more anime sales, and et cetera, et cetera.
As far as I know, they
smart.
make more money on manga.
Oh,
It's so cheap to
probably.
produce, so they usually do the comic. It's like the old OVAs that'd be like 2 episodes that were just like buy my manga.
But,
you know
but
what
think
I mean?
about it. It's so simple. It's like, okay, you're going to have a million crazy ideas, right? Because this is why anime and manga has such crazy ideas, but why it's so interesting, right? You have a million crazy ideas. Well, you can't go produce $160 million shows with all your crazy ideas. It ain't
Yes.
going to fucking work. You need to, you do a one shot and you have your magazines, your Shonen Jumps and whatever else.
That's where America's fucking up.
Right.
You need like Shonen Jump style stuff.
You have that, and then you get your good ideas. Yeah, but we could do that with one shots. They could still do it, but people don't tend to buy the one shots. You need the magazine that they would buy that's full of one shots.
See, I used to buy one shots all the time.
Oh, I love that stuff too, but if you had a magazine that was 5 one shots in one, you'd be more tempted. Especially if it was something really weird, because you might not buy it by itself, but you'd buy it as part of a collection, and then you'd read it because you bought it, and then you might be like, oh, that I wouldn't have bought that, but that's really cool. Anyway, so they're smart. So you get your ideas there, and they take fan feedback, and then the best stuff gets its weekly spot or monthly spot or whatever, and then it gets in collected volumes, and then the really good stuff gets more and more, and then it gets an anime, and then the anime pops off, and then it sells more and more of the comics, and it's you know what I mean, and then it becomes a merchandising machine, and it just feeds on itself. It's fucking brilliant. It's obvious and it's brilliant, and the American comic industry cannot get out of its own fucking way and figure that out.
Hey, you know what worked in the 90s? Anything with like J. Scott Campbell style Dirty Girls on the cover, boom, got my money every fucking time.
Well, that's
I got,
the other problem.
I got boxes and boxes and boxes of it.
Putting girls in potato sacks and making every man look like they guzzle soy all day is not really the way to go. Women want to see aesthetically pleasing men. Men want to see aesthetically pleasing women. And some men want to see aesthetically pleasing men, and some women want to see aesthetically pleasing women. No one's really interested in seeing frumpy frumps everywhere. I'm sorry. Yeah, that doesn't reflect reality.
It's not supposed to.
I'm not Dr. Sixpack either. That's not the point. That's not the point. It's art. It's supposed to be aesthetically pleasing.
Well, it's supposed to be fantasy.
Yeah, it's foolish. Anyway.
That just goes back to the bitch about escapism isn't allowed anymore.
So, lest you think it's only, America driving this, which, I do think America is a big thing driving the sales because, again, as Western comics, and it's more than just America, it's, the Western world, as those comics fall off the cliff, right, in quality, and no one likes them and no one wants them and no one's going to comic book stores and you can't buy them on book racks or whatever, it's shifting over to manga. So manga is just becoming more and more popular. It just is. And it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense for it to do that.
Plus, how many comic book stores are left after COVID? Like, you remember when we were kids?
They're getting
like,
crushed.
You would have the rack at the supermarket or whatever where you could buy comics. Fucking
Oh,
drugstores,
taking them off the
comics.
newsstands is a huge problem.
That was suicide.
Because comics used to sell so many more copies because they were on the newsstand. I used to go to the convenience store. There was 2 spinner racks of comics. One was Marvel, one was DC.
Yep.
This was in the late 80s, early 90s, right?
Absolutely.
And I'd go buy whatever. Who cares? Oh, look, there's a Spider-Man. Oh, look, it's an X-Men. I was always a Marvel guy. Although sometimes it'd be like, hey, look, it's Batman year 1. I'll buy
I was
that.
always more of a Marvel guy.
I was. Although I would always buy like Batman.
It was like Batman and Marvel.
Batman and Marvel.
I'm
right?
sure everybody was like that.
Yeah, it was Batman and Marvel. And that's what I would buy, especially once the animated series came out for Batman. That was like, all right, Batman's the bomb. And then, once you started going to comic book stores, you get a little older, you start going to comic book stores more. Yeah, you start buying. Image started popping off, and Dark Horse.
Oh, yeah, like mid to late 90s.
And then it was like Top Cow and whatever the hell the press is that did like Lady Death and all those.
Chaos.
Yeah, Chaos. And I don't know, even stuff like Poison Elves and Ninja Turtles was still around, right? Ninja Turtles was still a bit indie back then. So,
yeah.
Anyway, that's what, kids nowadays, they go and they buy manga. Because, again, you have the same level of variety, so much different stuff. And, it's a great thing because there's something to look forward to, right? Like, if you go buy a first volume of a manga and you like it, you might have 100 volumes to buy, but you might have another 10, 15 volumes of stuff to read.
The other thing,
That's
too,
great.
is, like, when you went to like the supermarket or something with your mother, you just go stand at the comic rack until she was fucking done. If your mom drags, if you're a kid now and your mom drags you to Barnes and Noble, you just go over to the fucking manga rack
and you
and,
sit there and read.
Yeah, and your mom buys you something to shut you up,
and you move on. Yeah, so it's good to see. And again, well, like I was saying, unless you think it's just the West that's doing the increase here, even in Japan, the sales are up. Like the print digital sales are up. I think it says 10% here. So even in Japan, where they already had a good solid market for that, their sales are going up.
Boom.
Who knows? Is that pandemic driven? Is that just I don't know, because Japan certainly does not have a rising young demographic. Japan is not big on immigration.
I think it's a lot of it's escapism driven.
Well, yeah, and they're an inverted pyramid, right? So you think it's probably people recapturing their youth, escapism, like you just said. Exactly.
Yeah, man. I love to go back and like read shit from when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like old comics you like back in the day.
Absolutely.
It's comfy, man. Get some hot cocoa, read some comics.
Yeah. All right, so moving on. You get the idea. I just like rubbing it in every now and again that, Japanese comics are destroying. And it's you can look at the business model. It's obvious what they're doing and how they're doing it. And I'm not saying you can copy and paste the exact same thing over here.
It's also obvious what American comics are doing and why they're doing it.
Yeah. ESG money ain't going to last forever, fools.
Well, when you don't have a company anymore to collect the ESG money, it's not going to matter.
And Netflix has run out of money to fund your garbage projects. All right, so moving on. So this is unsurprising, but good to see. So MAPPA, who does every goddamn thing nowadays, it seems, has invested in a new studio to do 3D CG entirely.
Oh, that's good.
That's good.
Because you won't have that like trash anymore.
Yeah, I'm hoping that'll help because I think people have seen what like UFO Table has done, UFO Table, however I don't know how to pronounce it, but what they've done with like Demon Slayer,
like, perfect mix.
They ground away at it. They did Endless Fate, whatever. Anime, and they ground away at it until they perfected it. I think they do the best job of integrating digital and regular animation and making it flawless and making it not jump out at you. Whereas other studios are falling on their face. So MAPPA, hey, they got the money, they're getting all the jobs. They may as well also increase their ability to do better animation.
Good.
And it's going to say long-term, it's short-term investment for long-term money because the 3D stuff is obviously
way cheaper, yeah.
Which is why they're
Once
doing
you get it down.
So we'll see. But hey, good to see him investing in it. And, MAPPA's been doing some good stuff. So I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see they're taking it seriously and hopefully that'll increase the quality because their 3D CG is good. I'd probably put them as second best. Them and like Production IG are probably like the second best. In Production IG, it depends. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's not as great. But neither of them can touch what, UFO Table has done with Demon Slayer. Not even close.
Yeah, no, like every single episode of that last season looked like a mini movie.
Yeah, I mean, Bandai's getting there. Bandai Sunrise, I guess, is getting there with Mecha.
It was like super sexy.
Yeah, I mean, they clearly spent money on it, but they're getting there with Mecha. But I don't know how they're doing with other stuff. But yeah, all right. So here's a kind of funny story for you. So White Fox Anime Studio put out a job announcement in Japan, specifically for a woman under the age of 26, and then caught a lot of flack because, like most places in the free world, can I say that?
The maybe kind of civilized world.
There are equal opportunity employment laws, and you can't just randomly announce a job for only one gender. Now, there's always rules around that. Obviously, if you need someone to play a woman in a movie, I know this is bigoted and phobic or whatever, but you can actually put out an ad just to get women to do that. But Japan has had a law since 1972, and the guy's like, "Oh man, I didn't know." So,
or finding a secretary.
It has to go out gender neutral. Now, you do it like everybody else does, and during your hiring practices, you could get away with a lot of stuff. Not saying you should, but that's how that usually works. But to be so bold as to announce it in the job announcement, not smart. Not smart. Just a funny little bit of news,
So I can't put out an ad for an old-timey secretary. Check.
Oh, you can put on an ad for an old-timey secretary and let people interpret what the hell they think that means and see what happens. Probably be pretty amusing, actually.
Yeah, it would.
Man, if somebody comes in the old school, some dude comes in his old school super banker outfit with the green visor, probably hire him. Just saying.
Just for the visor.
Hell yeah. Like, we're going to the bar and you're always wearing that.
Oh,
Like
God, then you just have
Mr.
to,
Prospector from...
Then you can only drink, like, 50s drinks. Like, whiskey and, like... God,
highballs.
like
Anything in a highball glass. Tom Collins.
Like,
oh, yeah. Old fashions.
Shit with raw eggs in it.
I've had a cocktail with a raw egg in it. You know what? Not bad. They do the egg white and it foams it.
Yeah, it's good.
It's hipster as fuck, but what are you going to do? All right, so it was making a comeback, and now there's intellectual property issues. We'll see if it comes back on Kickstarter. But guess what's making a comeback?
Do tell.
Your favorite thing. Your favorite convention-related item. The yaoi paddle.
Oh, yes. Man, I haven't had my hams paddled in, like, years.
So
They were banned forever.
there was a Kickstarter up about it, but now there's arguments over who owns the design. You ripped me off and whatever else.
It's a fucking wooden...
I'm not going to get into it.
Like, come on, man.
Who gives a shit? It was all
Come on, man.
It was all stolen from basically like cricket bats you'd use to, frat boys to paddle each other with anyway. But
Yeah, man. It was like Pi Alpha Delta Sigma Extreme.
there's obviously a desire out there for more yaoi paddles. So
Listen,
expect them to make a big comeback.
Listen, the only surefire way to know that a girl is into you is she walks up behind you and paddles you.
That doesn't mean she's into you. That means she wants you to be into some dude that's around. Also
Listen,
near you.
Maybe now, but back in the day.
You never know where things lead.
It's
Anyway,
true.
that's all I got for the news, and it's a lot of it for today.
Yeah, it was like a solid half hour of news.
Yeah, well, a lot of big topics to cover.
Shit's popping.
So how about you regale me with the tales of all the things you've watched this week?
Okay, rundown. I'll make it short but sweet. First thing, we caught up on Lupin last week. As far as I know, we haven't watched the new episode.
But yeah, we have not.
I'll
watched
just
the
hit
newest
Attack
episode.
on Titan because that's an easy one.
Hit Attack on Titan.
Basically, they're basically getting the band back together, which is where I thought they were going to go.
Yeah, that seemed kind of obvious.
They're getting the band back together to try to stop Eren. Good fucking luck. They had some kind of plan where they thought they could do it.
Yeah, they got lots.
Oh,
plans.
and
Balrog's got lots of plans.
Hanji and Levi still alive.
Yeah, that was kind of obvious when she ran off with
Oh
him.
man, she was smoking fools. Like anybody who's like, look, is like half the fucking,
Hanji's always been hardcore as hell. I wouldn't fuck with her.
But anyway, the Jaegerists are like basically Nazis, so like they kind of just drove away all those guys.
Yep.
So it's going the way I expected. How that end, like how that's comes to a satisfying ending, I have no idea, but we'll see.
Maybe my boy the Olin will pop in and retune the world.
I
just fix everything.
I kind of just they might pull some of that bullshit, but I kind of want Eren to just stomp the world flat and call it a day.
That's to me. That's the ending I want, just because it's kind of hilarious.
I just want to see it.
It's just so ridiculous.
Like that many Titans just stomp, 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 stomp.
It's so ridiculous.
I know, it's ridiculously.
Maybe someone will bust out a nuke at some point. Who knows?
Anyway,
Seems like they're getting to that level.
The
of
episode
technology.
still wastes an incredible amount of time on stupid shit that I don't care about. There's way too many characters. That's what was driving me nuts lately.
And they've killed some of them, but yeah, they added new ones,
Yeah,
so
it's
they
just, like,
exacerbated
absurd.
the problem. This Attack on Titan has always had these narrative issues.
Yeah.
Like it's had awkward pacing. It's had too many characters. I love it, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's bad. It's just there's always been these quirks about it that don't. To me, granted, we'll have to wait till it's over, but to me, it keeps it under something like Full Metal Alchemist or even Demon Slayer right now, where they strike a much better balance of there. You know what I mean?
They've collected
better
kind
pacing,
of
better
everybody.
characters.
Even Reiner's back.
Oh, Reiner, he'll never die.
Nah. But anyway, so that's that for that. Nothing epic except that they're basically collecting all the old school main characters, and they're gonna. I assume
even Eddie busted out. So
yeah, I assume they're gonna go try to stop. I don't know, whatever that thing Eren is.
oh, yeah, weird dragon rage monster. Okay. What else did you watch?
Wait,
Realist.
Stop.
What?
How a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom. First time I've ever got it right.
All right. That's what I was about to ask you about.
That's just basically a harem show now. In the best possible way.
Okay.
He just keeps taking over territories and marrying daughters. It's kind of the best.
That's old school harem shows good.
It's got like an old school Tenchi vibe, and then he busts out his like Machiavellian like secret schemes and plans.
Does anybody have a pocket dimension?
No, not yet.
Is Washu in it?
No,
I'm just curious.
It's not going that deep.
Damn, that's a shame.
But anyway, it's entertaining, and if you like those kind of shows back in the day, you'll definitely like that show.
Does it have a rabbit monster that turns into a spaceship?
No.
Damn.
It doesn't really have anything that fantastical.
It just really makes me want to rewatch Tenchi now.
I mean, it's got your standard bunny girls and blah, blah, blah.
Are they on the bridge talking to a guy in a giant hat with an awesome pipe?
Yes. No.
Okay. No? Damn.
Regardless, it has more of a...
Are there transforming F-14 Tomcats?
Oh, God, the bridge bunny is the best.
Yeah, man.
Blah, blah, blah.
I'm across.
Rick!
Someday we should do... I don't want to really watch the same thing twice, but I would love to someday do the compare, contrast, Macross and Robotech.
I've actually did it a little bit because I remember when the Robotech box came out.
Oh, I've watched them both. I watched Robotech once, and I watched Macross at least twice.
Yeah, because I watched the whole Robotech box, and I'm like... and I'd seen Macross kind of recently. It's really not that much different, honestly. I mean, the dialogue's obviously a little different, but it's not like they don't change any plot.
The first one is not that different.
No,
when you get to like
all.
Southern Cross and Most Piata is the one that's just.
That's because Southern Cross is hyper retarded.
Southern Cross is. We got to talk about Southern Cross. We should talk about all the Super Dimensional series someday, but Southern Cross is the most wacky with I don't know, like the hard fighting, hard brawling, hard partying, like. I can't remember her name. She was supposed to be Max's daughter in Robotech, but I can't remember her name in Southern Cross.
In Southern Cross, she was always naked in the shower.
Yeah, and it was like ragtag band of drunken jackasses that I don't know occasionally do work, and Southern Cross is
mostly
weird.
carousing.
It's mostly a waste of time of a show. Most Piata is a much better show, but
that I got to rewatch
than Southern Cross, not than Macross, because Macross is excellent.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in years, and I remember it being really good. Man, it's got like motorcycle
Stigu.
Yeah, it's got Stig. Stigu.
No, the transforming. It's got both transforming planes and transforming. Although the transforming planes are ugly as hell. The robot forms are chunky and cool, but the planes are stupid. And it has the awesome transforming motorcycles.
Yeah, the
they turn into armor. That's way cooler. Ride armor. That shit's awesome. Anyway, I'll stop getting nostalgic about it. Are there any other shows besides Realistic Harem?
I caught up on Sabaku Ibisco.
Yes.
Which is still excellent. What happened? They kind of got to like... They got to like the end of the season real fast. Because like right now, they're fighting the governor or whatever the fuck it was. That guy with his like...
The governor?
The governor, or whatever he was.
I know nothing about Sabaku Ibisco. I'm going to watch it at some point.
But the guy with he's got his like bunny head army of like slaves.
Good to know.
And he controls them with mushrooms on their heads. But anyway.
Okay.
I won't spoil it too much.
Fair enough.
But yeah, basically they saved his sister, they saved the old man, and now they're like fighting that guy, and they still got a lot of episodes left.
So he doesn't have to go kill Haman now? Oh, wait. Sorry. Mixing up my shows again. Always sisters to be saved.
Yep.
All right.
Man, that was that whole show. I gotta save my sister. No, she's dead. No, she's alive.
He didn't figure out she was alive till the very end. When Sayla showed up. He was like, I was supposed to be in the show, but I'm not, so whatever.
Am I forgetting anything?
Nothing I care about. I think we should move on to DOTA.
Yeah, we're gonna run out of time.
DOTA Dragon's Blood.
Season 2.
Well, it feels more like the second half of the first season.
Yeah, it was basically one season cut in half.
I was gonna say this. By the end of this feels more like a season of a show. You know what I mean? Like the arc right here feels like it kind of resolved.
Yes.
Most of the stuff where it could be an ending.
At the end of the first season, they tied up nothing. It felt like you were just hanging for the next
It was just a
episode,
cliffhanger, yeah. This feels more complete. Now, hopefully they'll get greenlit for some more seasons. And being animated, I would think they would, but I haven't heard anything yet. And, they were trending on the charts for a couple weeks, which is what most Netflix shows do. And, it may not be Arcane levels of good, but it's got a more old school kind of just It's got more of an old school vibe that I appreciate.
It was Castlevania good.
Yes. Parts of Castlevania. So Castlevania is more consistent. Parts of Castlevania are phenomenal. I think they're better than anything that's in Dota. But there's a lot of garbage in Castlevania, and this does not. This floor is higher.
Yes, it was basically equal to the average of Castlevania.
Yeah. We'll take season 3 out of Castlevania entirely because some stupid stuff. Actually, the whole Saint Germain storyline was good, but the other stuff, I don't know. Whatever. We'll talk about Castlevania someday.
Bring War. Bring War and Alice out of retirement.
So Dota. Yeah, it's been a couple weeks, but at the end of the first season, freaking Davion, the main character who's got the dragon inside of him, the Dragon Knight got hauled off by his Dragon Knight bro, who says like 3 words and 2 of them are fuck.
He really only says fuck.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. Not to be a prude, but the swearing is best when it uses punctuation. When you use it every other word and you're that type of character, it doesn't work.
As my mother said when I was a kid, if you say it every word, it loses meaning.
Yeah, it loses meaning. So his dialogue was a little funky, but it's fine. Good character. But yeah, they're trying to he's actually a total bro and he's trying to extract the dragon out of him because this dragon is the dragon that killed all his friends, like 28 other Dragon Knights that were with him or something, 20 years ago. So he's
Slyrak,
yeah. And then Terrorblade is the demon. The worst name of the show. Every other name is fine.
Slyrak's a good name. Terrorblade is just the cringinator.
It's very cringy.
So bad.
But Terrorblade is cringy.
It sounds like
cheesy CG too.
It sounds like an old Atari video game name, right?
Kind of does. Anyway, the season is it's interesting. You get a little political intrigue. Princess goes home. Princess of the Moon, she goes home because she gets kidnapped to go home by her uncle who's sitting on they go to the Empire. So they're back in actual civilization where the last season they was, it was kind of like classic wandering through the countryside, villages.
Like D&D adventure.
D&D adventure. And there's a war going on. Now, you get a little bit of city stuff, which was cool. It was a good way to mix it up. You get a little bit of that intrigue, a little bit of that city underbelly. You got that awesome Armadillo guy as a character. The French Armadillo guy who was basically Pepe Le Pew.
Pepe Le Pew.
So yeah, the princess gets kidnapped and then has to go because the uncle wants to marry her because incest. Although it's just a political marriage. He's not really interested in her in that way.
Is it really even her uncle?
Because
he basically stormed in and usurped, killed her parents, usurped the throne.
It's technically her uncle, but yeah, who knows how all these things work?
No, but was she the dad's brother, or was he the dad's brother?
I don't know if they ever said that.
I don't think they did.
It was always uncle. I don't know whether he was an actual uncle or colloquial uncle. He was an uncle. I have no idea.
Whatever.
You're getting hung up on it.
I get hung up on things.
It's incest. It's always incest. But he wasn't interested in her that way anyway. It was just he wanted to marry her because you find out later, and there's a little bit of a spoiler, that he never got the power. The guy who comes in, who's the emperor of this kingdom, the solar kingdom or whatever, is supposed to be an emperor, a god emperor, and he never got the power.
Yeah, because there's this thing that gives you powers, and if it doesn't like you, it does not give you.
And there's a twist that we won't go into because I don't want to spoil that because that's an interesting twist.
Yes.
It's one of those ones that you can kind of see coming, but is actually done pretty well about who the real villain of the season is. And basically all you need to know is, all the heroes come back together eventually and, they resolve most of what was going on. There's some hero's journey stuff. Some people actually get killed this time and look like they're going to stay dead.
Characters you really like die, which is
it's kind of a shame.
But it makes the stakes high enough so things
matter.
They
did it just right. They didn't kill anybody that narratively shouldn't have been killed, but and they didn't telegraph it too much, but it's well done. Like I said, you get the city intrigue. You got what's her name has a really good character arc. I can never remember her name. Marana, the elf girl who was the terror of the plains in the last season, who was
I don't remember her name. Kind
of brainwashed by the elven goddess of the moon, who's the worst.
Yeah.
And had killed a lot of people in the last season. She's got a really good character arc from the last season to now. They handled it really well. She's a character you should hate, but you see a little bit of redemption going on there, and you feel a little bit bad, but then it's well done. It's very well handled. The writing is still excellent. The animation is great. I think it's a little bit of a step up from the last season.
Oh,
A
definitely.
little more CG, and sometimes that, again, you know how that happens. Sometimes it doesn't look as good as it could, but it was never jarring. It was never
No,
bad.
I barely even noticed it really.
Yeah, there's a little more Terra Blade doing more actual devil kind of stuff where he's
he's always trying
tempting
to
people.
he's always trying to like turn people, and he clearly just can't do anything without humans to do it for him. So
Yeah.
he's always like doing the classic devil thing and trying to like.
Like I said, there's a lot of stuff still left open. There's plenty of plot threads left dangling for,
There's a ton
for
of
more
stuff,
seasons
yeah.
because they don't wrap up the whole story. Like, there's still Terra still trying to get into the kingdom or into this plane of existence to remake it. And there's what's his name? The Invoker. That's his name. The Invoker, the wizard, the super powerful wizard from the last one.
Ridiculous.
They don't really wrap up his story yet. Like there's progress there, but they did a good job of not overemphasizing his story all season.
Yeah.
But they give you enough teaser stuff, and then by the end of the season, it sets it up for, hey, if they're gonna do more, that's a good place to go and a good direction to go with it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it's well handled. It's entertaining. It's excellent. We watched it in a night. It's 8 episodes. They're about a half hour a piece.
Yeah, it's like standard cartoon length.
Yeah, I mean, a real half hour, so they're a little bit longer than like your average anime because they don't have.
Yeah, they're not like 23
long.
minutes or whatever
No
the fuck
long
it is.
opening and ending. No bumpers. No
commercials.
And if
They don't cut out for that.
and if it's shown, there's not like 5 minutes of recap of the last episode.
Yeah, they go easy on the recap.
But it's good. It's a good show. Taken as a whole, season 1 and season 2, highly recommend it. It's 16 episodes. It's on Netflix now. Again, if they do 8 more and kind of wrap up everything else, I'd be happy. If it's one 24-episode series, I would be happy. If they want to do 5 more seasons and it's written this well, I'm also happy. But, they have left it at a point where they could wrap it up in 8 episodes. Like they got one more season and that's it.
I think one more season would be like tight.
One more season would be tight. If they wanted to do a couple more seasons after that, they could do it. Most of these shows, you got about 5 seasons before you have to. There's a reason there's time skips.
Yeah.
In anime, right? And in manga, because you get to a certain point where kind of all the arcs have been completed, and you don't want to just be like, it's the next thing, but it's bigger and bad. You don't want to Dragon Ball Z it. So, having a time skip in there is not a bad thing. But
I can't see going past one more season, really.
with this story,
Unless they want to really drag it out.
no. Well, my point being, with this story arc with all the Terra Blade stuff, I agree. I think you wrap that up in a season, and then if you were going to do more, you do something else. You could do something else.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be exactly
I
the
mean,
same
I'd
thing.
watch it, and it'll probably be great. I just,
Yeah.
what they have dangling is one more season, basically,
I don't disagree.
for my dollar.
But, you can introduce new characters and leave more things. That you can do that.
Oh, you can do it infinitely.
Right, because
if
I
you wanna
thought
do
I
that,
thought they were
but-
going to wrap it up this season, but they didn't, because they could have. They could have used the pieces they had from the first season, wrapped up this season, and it still would have been satisfying.
Yeah.
But they introduced some new stuff and some new characters that keep it going. So regardless, I think my main point here is the writing is good, so I trust them to keep going, and it's the same writer throughout, really, pretty much.
Yeah, it
same
is.
head
Yeah,
writer.
yeah,
So yeah, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I hope it gets at least one more season, and if it gets more, I just hope the writing stays good enough where it doesn't get stale, because it should have wrapped up in 3 seasons and they're just stretching it,
Yeah, definitely.
because that's always bad. All right. Well, that's a lot of Dota. Do you have any last thoughts on Dota before we move on to
No, definitely watch it. It has everything that makes a show good.
yeah, if you like a nice classic fantasy story, watch it. It's good. It's good. All right. So, reminds me of Lotus War a lot.
It does.
So, we're going to move on to what I think is a pretty epic 90s OVA classic.
It was epic to make, since it took
It took forever.
fucking 6 years, I think, to come
I think it
out.
came out between 92 and 98. Yeah, 6 years. Some
7
of the episodes are long.
by the way.
So, the first and last episodes are longer. I think they're about 45 minutes a pop, and then the middle
Yeah, the middle
episodes
ones are
are
like a half hour.
20 to 30. Yeah. So, what are we talking about? Giant Robo.
The animation.
The animation, Giant Robo, The Day the Earth Stood Still, Giant Robo. It's got other subtitles in Japan. Of course it does.
Yeah, I have no
whatever.
idea.
Doesn't matter. Giant Robo. So it's a 90s remake of an original property that was called, it's like Johnny Sacco. What is it called? Johnny Sacco Got His Robot, I believe is what it's called. Johnny Sacco and His Flying Robot. That's what it is. So this was by, what is this guy's name? I'm going to screw this up. Mitsuteru Yokoyama. So he did a bunch of stuff back in the day, and this is one of his series, Johnny Sacco and His Flying Robot. Now, this is a complete reimagining, right? So they took Johnny Sacco and His Flying Robot, so Giant Robo, and not Johnny Sacco. What the hell is his name? Daisaku.
Yes, Daisaku.
So he's like a 15-year-old-ish kid, I think.
No, he's 12.
Is he 12? 12.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
I only remember because they repeat like
they said it.
all
Yeah.
this stuff happens to this. He's only 12.
Yeah, 12-year-old kid. He looks a little older, but he doesn't look that old. It's hard in anime, right? He's not a 1,000-year-old lolly. So,
right.
12-year-old kid, and he's got the giant robo, the most powerful robot in the world. And they're not really mecha in this. You don't pilot them, and
you just tell them what to do.
Yeah,
basically.
You tell him what they do, and he like hangs onto his like a ladder on his cheek half the time,
which is hilarious. Like, how are you not dead? Like,
it controls him with his hype like remote control Breitling Navitimer.
It really is. Oh man, I love that autistic detail.
I love the autistic detail with watches and guns that anime has all the time. Cars too.
Oh yeah,
all three. Like especially back in the day before they were doing the digital cars, they really were into that. So anyway, what the hell is this about? So they took those characters out of the original. And I guess Murasame was one of the original characters too, although he wasn't a immortal freaking ridiculous jackass. And they threw it together. So this is Yasuhiro Imagawa, the guy who did G Gundam.
Good old Imagawa.
And he threw together, and he started this before G Gundam, finished it after. Threw together a bunch of other characters from Mitsuteru Yokoyama's like universe, a bunch of different ones, and most of the other characters, it's crazy. It's a crazy mix of characters. A lot of them are very Chinese wuxia style.
Yeah.
They're very Journey to the West, Outlaws of the Marsh kind of characters. The Blue Beast.
Yeah.
She's ridiculous.
9 Celestials. That was I was trying.
The
to
Celestial
think of.
9, yeah, the
Celestial 9.
So there's two. Okay, so this thing throws you in right in the middle. It's like it throws you right in the middle of everything. There's a case that's being stolen, and there's this organization. There's the BF group, and then there's Big Fire. And Big Fire is the evil organization, and the BF group is also the evil. I don't know why there's two. Maybe one's a tax shelter. Who knows? Big Fire's the guy.
BF group is like all the Big Fire is a guy. And then his like immediate organization is Big Fire, but then the BF group is like all the subsidiaries or whatever.
Yeah, it's
set up like a goddamn corporation.
It's a giant, there's a bureaucracy. So it's so that has the Magnificent 10, and these people have ridiculous. I mean, think ridiculous powers. Think like One Piece, not as silly maybe, but One Piece level of powers. Like not Dragon Ball Z levels, but they got some ridiculous crap, right?
Yes,
and
most definitely.
And there's also the giant robots, and there's other people that have those too.
Super cool names like Alberto the Impact.
Yeah, you got Alberto the Impact, one of the Magnificent 10. He's awesome. You get Koen Shaku.
Yes,
Is he a man? Is he an empty samurai armor that runs around?
I don't know what the fuck he does.
No one knows what the hell Koen Shaku is, but he's got an awesome design.
I don't know. He jumps in and out of shadows and shit. So
yeah, and then a lot of the Magnificent 10, I don't remember their names because they appear like towards the end.
Yeah, they're barely even there.
And they're barely in it. There's a lot of cool ones. There's that weird guy with like he's basically tuxedo mask with his ridiculous outfit.
Yes, he is.
So let me talk about animation style before I get into the plot.
Don't they make a joke about him looking like Tuxedo Mask too?
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure they do.
Regardless, the whole thing is very retro styled, right? It's very 50s looking style. So it's supposed to be the future. It's still like 2020. It's later than 2029.
Yeah. But it's not steampunk. It's
not.
It's like atomic punk.
It's like that retro future, like a little Jetson-y, but not quite like it's interesting. It's very
there's a lot of
but then
there's a lot of rivets on everything.
You have all these like medieval looking freaking wuxia looking characters all around.
Yeah, that don't really fit, but you don't question it.
You just don't care.
It's entertaining.
It's awesome. So the style is excellent. Anyway, going back to the thing. So you have Big Fire, the Magnificent 10, which is the big organization there. And then you have the evil organization, although not completely. They want world domination, but the evil, they'll definitely
They're more of just a foil for, the Celestial
for
Nine.
the Celestial Nine. So the Celestial Nine of the Experts of Justice.
Yes.
It's such a great name. Who work for the
The Experts of Justice are basically big, the opposite of big.
yeah,
Fire.
they're the good guys, right? And they work for Interpol, so they're related to the police force, right?
Yeah.
And
they're legit.
And there's a bunch of ridiculous badasses there too. We were talking about the Blue Beast. She's
fucking
awesome.
Taizo.
Taizo, yeah. There's a lot of cool characters in this. I mean, this show works Ginrai. Like the character, it works with poor Ginrai. It works because of the characters, right? The characters are excellent. The story's pretty good too. The characters are excellent. So the whole thing revolves around. So it's in the future, like I said, and there's the Shizuma drive, right? So Dr. Shizuma invents this Shizuma drive.
It's the classic perpetual motion machine, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that, but it's like free.
It's like little
free, cheap, clean energy.
It takes the place of all energy on Earth. In 10 years, it has completely supplanted every other form of energy. All the nuclear power plants are shut down. Even little batteries that would go in a watch or a
everything's
car.
a Shizuma drive.
Everything's Shizuma drive.
How it operates a fucking cigarette lighter is beyond me.
Who knows? It's like a mini fusion.
It makes flame.
Fusion rods, and you just swap them out. They're safe. They work. It's no problems, right? So this all came out of a thing called the Tragedy of Bashtar, which I'll tell you about a lot in the first couple episodes.
That's the only annoying thing about this show is they mention it. Like, you hear the Tragedy of Bashtar like 6,000 times.
They drop it after the first 3 or 4 episodes mostly, but God, they harp on it. So Tragedy of Bashtar is where Dr. Franken von Vogler, such an awesome name, cannot forget that name, has been. So I'm not going to get into spoilers, so I won't get into what really happened because they really go through. They do a good job throughout of revealing more and more of it, where you get more and more of the truth. Yeah. And by the end, you get the truth. But Franken von Vogler grabbed one of the experimental ones. Like they were working on this idea, and the Earth was in an energy crisis, and they're like, we need this now.
Yeah, they were like 90% there, but they just could not figure out. Well, whatever.
No, but that was the thing. It's like the 2%. Like, what could happen? And he's just like, screw it, we're gonna do it. I'm gonna make it happen. For some reason, the reactor that they were using was a giant eyeball sphere of doom. I don't know why. And he activated it, and it like wiped out. I don't know, an entire country.
I think it was 2/3 of the world's population.
And then, it wiped out an entire country, and it shut off power across the entire globe. So it shut off all the nuclear reactors, shut off all forms of power for 7 days or 8 days. And it was 7 days.
Yeah.
And in those 7 days, 2/3 of the Earth's population died somehow. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Wars,
that's
famine,
what they told
whatever.
you happened.
That's what they told you happened. Very 1-year war of them, right? So anyway, we fast forward now, and it's 10 years later. They finally perfected the Shizuma drive after that, and everything uses the Shizuma drive. So there's these cases, and you're like, what the hell's going on? Well, you find out pretty early on. One of the cases has an experimental Shizuma rod or whatever you call it, right?
Yeah.
Shizuma coil. I can't remember if it's got a specific name, but it's one of the experimental samples where it's basically mimicking the one before that caused the Tragedy of Bashtar.
Yeah, if you put a bunch of them together in that stupid eye thing, it'll recreate the Tragedy of Bashtar.
Big Fire's plan, and whose plan is it really, is to reactivate the Tragedy of Bashtar all across the globe, but this time target only Shizuma drives, because obviously you don't need to worry about anything else because no one really has anything else. And then you shut down all power across the globe. No one has any alternatives because you ain't got no nuclear power or anything else. And you plunge the world into true darkness, and in the chaos, you can take over the world.
And
that's the idea.
They were going to ransom the last oil fields in the world.
That was part of their plan.
That
too.
was their game.
That was that was part of the plan. And that part of the plan would not have been necessary if they'd gotten the third rod. Because again, the Experts of Justice, the whole thing is like they captured the third rod, and
Big Fire's constantly trying to get it.
Big Fire with 2 of them, they activate the giant sphere with 2 of them, and they go around in the local area. They can shut down all the Shizuma drives, and
they can't get
they wipe out
that full
Paris.
world.
They wipe out New York. They do all these things, right? But they can't just do it. They can't do a worldwide pulse to wipe out everything because they need the third one to do that. So they're trying to reclaim that, and as part of the plan, they also go and try to ransom the oil fields.
Which is hilarious that there's oil fields in Shanghai.
So in this, you have all sorts of cool fights with the Experts of Justice and all these crazy assholes, the Magnificent 10. And then you also have Giant Robo, which is just enormous. This enormous robot, and it's one of the keys. It's very important to, it's one of the keys to not letting them destroy the world. And it's also a nuclear-powered death machine. So it can operate even in the presence of the anti-Shizuma field.
Yes.
Because it is
it's like the
nuclear-powered
last
death machine.
thing on Earth that's not powered by a Shizuma.
And it freaks everybody out. They're like, it's nuclear. Oh, God. They're like, we're going to seal it away. So it's just interesting. Anyway, I'm not going to blather on too much about it. We could talk about this. We can go through the plot for hours. It's
got
good.
so many twists and turns,
but it's very easy to follow.
And yeah, it's not hard to
follow. So I want to be clear. It's not overly complicated. Like, they did a good job. It's logical. It all makes sense. By the end, you're like, okay. I would say the ending is satisfying. It's a little sad for some people, but it's pretty satisfying. It will make you mad because you see all the cool stuff that's going to happen after this series that doesn't actually happen. But I want a sequel someday, I suppose is my point. Anyway, what particular things do you have to say about Giant Robo? Good, bad, and different.
Aside from whining about the tragedy of Bashtar forever, they just say the words too much. It's my God, shut up. Otherwise, I love the aesthetic. Like all those big chunky trains and just
rivets on everything.
Yeah, I don't even know what you call it. It's almost Art Deco, but not.
It
really.
is very Art Deco.
Yeah, it's just I don't know if steampunk were Art Deco instead. But the robot design, super fucking classic. Think Tetsujin 28, like that style.
Very so. Black Ox is even in one opening for some reason.
Opening, which
I don't know
funny.
why.
It's probably just a nod to Tetsujin. I mean, classics.
Yeah.
I like his ridiculous Pharaoh head.
Yeah, no offense to Tetsujin fans. Black Ox is an awesome design. Tetsujin 28 is not my favorite design, whereas Giant Robo is
big,
awesome design.
Tetsujin 28 is mostly rockets. Yeah. It's just two giant rockets with a little robot stuck to it.
Giant Robo's got the ridiculous Egyptian headdress and the giant shoulders.
I love the way all the robots too have a face, like a human face.
Yes, and eyes.
Very and eyes, and they only have one expression, and it's just disdain.
Oh, and the noise, boom! It's always making loud noises.
Yeah, whenever
Daisaku
talks
around.
to it. It's just like what? Okay.
Daisaku Kusama.
Yes,
his last name.
It's like a purring kitten. But I love the whole aesthetic. Like you said, narratively, everything makes sense. Very good story. All the characters are super awesome. I mean, I like the way they blended all that stuff together.
Yep.
He tried to do it in that Mazinger Z series, and it just didn't work as well.
And he didn't have an actual satisfying conclusion to that Mazinger Z series, was the problem.
The problem is they just set it up for a second season that you're never going to get.
Yeah.
So. Maybe 20
This
years
I will
from
say,
now,
despite my bitch about all the cool stuff to come, this is a contained story arc. You
don't need anything else.
Satisfying ending.
It's perfect.
You want more, but it's a satisfying. You're fine.
Oh man, and the epic manliness of the Taizo Alberto the Impact.
Oh, the Taizo Alberto the Impact
rivalry.
Great.
Oh my God, so good.
Yeah, it's great.
It's
Alberto the Impact is such an awesome character. Great character arc there. Great character arcs across the board.
It's one of those rivalries where they don't really want to kill each other because they have to fight forever. It's fantastic.
Ginrei, we haven't talked much about Ginrei.
Ginrei is kind of the centerpiece to the whole show.
She's very pivotal. Her and one of the main big fire characters, I won't spoil, is very pivotal to the show and revolves around the show. And as you learn more and more about Ginrei's past, it becomes important.
Yeah, super important.
Yeah, it's the crazy powers. I love the different crazy powers. They don't even have to make sense.
And they bust out new stuff all the time. It's I thought I knew what that guy did, but now he has all these other crazy powers.
Yeah,
it's entertaining.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of my Giant Robo has not a lot to do with it. He's there, he's a plot device, but it doesn't do a lot.
Don't expect this to be a mecha show.
Yeah, it's not a mecha show.
It's not a mecha show. Giant Robo's awesome, and there's giant robots all over the place. It's cool, but it's not a mecha show. It's more of a
mystery
thriller
type
kung
thing.
fu. It's more of a kung fu show.
Yeah, it's very
wuxia, which is what that's what Imagawa wanted to do. It's very wuxia with a side of awesome giant robots. No problem there. And Giant Robo plays into the just because Giant Robo's not in it all the time and not pivotal.
Yeah, he's very important.
Very important. And it's very important at the end. yeah, there's. I don't want to say too much more without spoiling it. It's just excellent. Like,
Yeah, no, it's a definite must watch.
it really is. It really is. Like, there's no excuse not to watch it. It looks like it is out on Blu-ray. So
It is, yeah. I think 2007 it came out on Blu-ray.
Yeah, it's
I'm
still
pretty
available. I'm looking right now. It's available right now. So I'm gonna have to pick it up for
I don't
sure.
know if it's streaming anywhere, but you could definitely find it on the high seas.
Yeah, it's around. And there's a Getting Ready special. We'll probably talk about that next week. It's just kind of a wacky side OVA.
It's not worth a whole review, but I'm sure we'll get.
And it's
into
not at all. It is a complete non sequitur side story. There's a part where all the good guys and bad guys are just like drinking at like a feast at the same table. And Komachaku's got Mad Sake running through his helmet. It's wacky.
We'll get into that next week. We'll get into how animes used to come in under budget and they do a comedy episode. Because that used to happen a lot back in the day.
Yeah. Imagine coming in under budget. I know a man. There's this man I know of that it's impossible for him to ever come in under budget. What is his name? He did, Evangelion. He did. He did Gunbuster. Yeah. Thanks, Ano. Anyway, do you have any other things you'd like to say? Anything you thought besides the little bit of like tragedy to Bash Darl? Any real complaints?
Otherwise, it's like I don't know how they got all those like weird things to fit together and have it be so awesome, but they did.
It works and it's awesome. Oh, and if you watch it in Japanese, Alberto the Impact is the same voice actor that does Seiyu, whatever, that does freaking Master Asia.
Because they're
Gundam.
Basically the same character.
Oh my god, they basically are the same character. Alberto the Impact is like a proto Master Asia. Oh, it's awesome.
Really is.
Giant Robo was an awesome show. It's funny. I'm glad I watched it because I only watched it the one time and I was like, it was pretty good. Watching it again, I'm like, no, this is freaking awesome.
It's one of those that slips through the cracks. Like nobody ever talks about it. But it's definitely like it's not even long either. So I mean,
it's 7 episodes.
You kill it in like a couple sittings.
We killed it in an evening.
Sitting.
We killed it in one long evening, but yeah, you could kill it in a couple sittings easy. Highly recommended. Definitely in that higher tier list. We got to put out a list someday of like watch these damn shows.
That's going to be a lot of arguing.
Yeah, oh yeah. I think it would make my top 25.
Oh, definitely.
Especially for shorter stuff, right? Like if I'm not including
I really
big, long
love
series.
those like nostalgia projects they do where it's like like an old IP that they just really, like you could tell they really cared about what they were doing.
That's the thing you could tell.
It's done with love.
Everybody here that worked, they gave a shit about this. They really cared. You can tell. But I mean, I say that because in the West that doesn't happen a lot, but Japan, that tends to happen a lot. Like when they do, a lot of times when they do revivals, that you could tell the people that worked on it really cared. Even something like that damn Gaijin show, you could tell they really cared.
I always forget about that. It was really good.
No, it's a good one.
The Legend of Daikumaru.
Anyway, check it out. It's an excellent show. Like I said, it's available right now on Blu-ray. You can pick it up. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere.
I never
certainly
checked.
Find it elsewhere. Giant Robo. The Day the Earth Stood Still, Giant Robo the Animation, whatever you want to call it. Go check it out. Awesome 90s OVA.
I think that's that for today.
That's all I got.
So have a fantastic week. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.
Well, that's all for today, everyone. We'd like to thank all of you for tuning into another episode of the Gaijin Animation Appreciation Hour. Please remember to like and subscribe, and may your entertainment be always, entertaining.